Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The salty breeze tickled David's nose as he pulled into the gravel driveway of the beach house, tires crunching to a halt. A wry smile tugged at his lips as he surveyed the weathered clapboard siding and wide front porch. For once, he'd have the place all to himself. No rowdy friends, no awkward explanations, just blessed privacy. He killed the engine and sat for a moment, savoring the quiet. Only the distant crash of waves and cry of seagulls broke the stillness. David took a deep breath, feeling tension melt from his shoulders. This weekend was all about relaxation and self-expression. Gathering his courage, he popped the trunk and hefted out 2 large suitcases. One contained his usual t-shirts and swim trunks, a decoy in case anyone asked. The other held his most cherished possessions, carefully folded and concealed. The old porch steps creaked as David made his way to the front door, fumbling with the key. Stale air greeted him as he stepped inside, redolent of salt and sun-baked wood. Dust motes danced in shafts of afternoon light streaming through gaps in the faded curtains. David set down his bags and did a quick tour of the house. Everything was as he remembered from past vacations: the lumpy couch with its nautical print slipcover, the collection of chipped seashells on the mantel, the ancient TV that probably still got only 3 fuzzy channels. But it was clean and cozy, the perfect private retreat. He returned to the entryway and picked up his special suitcase, heart quickening. Usually he had to keep this side of himself tightly under wraps, snatching furtive moments when he was sure no one would catch him. But for the next 3 days, he could fully immerse himself in his feminine persona without fear or shame. David carried the suitcase to the master bedroom and reverently set it on the faded quilt. His fingers trembled slightly as he undid the clasps and lifted the lid. A rainbow of silky fabrics greeted him, along with an assortment of accessories tucked into various pockets and compartments. He ran his hand over a gauzy turquoise sundress, marveling at its softness. Next to it lay a floral print wrap skirt and crisp white blouse. Tucked in one corner was a little black cocktail dress for evenings. Shoes ranged from strappy sandals to low heels to bright sneakers. David unpacked everything carefully, hanging dresses and blouses in the closet, folding skirts and shorts into drawers. He arranged cosmetics on the dresser: foundation, blush, eyeshadow palettes, mascara, lipsticks in various shades. A wig stand held a shoulder-length auburn style with soft waves. Once everything was in its place, David stepped back and surveyed his feminine wardrobe with satisfaction. A whole weekend stretched before him to try on different looks and explore this part of himself. No need to hide or rush. He could take his time and savor every moment. First things first, he needed to transform from travel-weary David into his alter ego. He'd decided to call her Diane for this trip. Diane was confident and carefree, the kind of woman who turned heads at the beach without even trying. David stripped off his masculine attire and stepped into the bathroom. A long, hot shower washed away the last traces of everyday stress. He took extra time shaving his legs and underarms until the skin was silky smooth. Wrapping himself in a fluffy towel, he returned to the bedroom and sat at the vanity. He started with a tinted moisturizer to even out his skin tone, then added a touch of rosy blush to his cheeks. Brown eyeshadow with gold shimmer made his eyes pop. A coat of mascara emphasized his naturally long lashes. Diane, studied her reflection critically. Not bad, but something was missing. She reached for a tube of coral lipstick and carefully applied it, blotting with a tissue. There! A warm smile lit up her face. Now for the outfit. It was a gorgeous afternoon, perfect for a stroll on the beach. Diane selected the turquoise sundress and a pair of white sandals. The dress swished pleasantly around her legs as she twirled in front of the full-length mirror. She added a wide-brimmed straw hat and oversized sunglasses as finishing touches. Diane took a deep breath and squared her shoulders. Time to venture out and greet the world. She grabbed a woven tote bag and headed for the door, pausing to snag a paperback novel from her suitcase. A lazy afternoon of reading by the waves sounded divine. The wooden steps creaked as Diane made her way down to the beach. Soft sand shifted under her feet, still warm from the day's sun. She breathed in the salty air, feeling truly relaxed for the first time in months. Finding a quiet spot away from other beachgoers, Diane spread out her towel and settled in. She lost herself in her novel, the rhythm of the waves a soothing backdrop. Every so often she'd pause to people watch, observing families building sandcastles or groups of friends tossing frisbees. As the sun began to dip towards the horizon, painting the sky in vivid pinks and golds, Diane reluctantly gathered her things. Her stomach was starting to growl. Time to head back and figure out dinner. She took her time strolling along the water's edge, letting the cool surf lap at her ankles. A few tiny shells caught her eye, and she tucked them into her bag as souvenirs. The beach house came into view all too soon. Back inside, Diane kicked off her sandy sandals and hung up her hat. She fixed herself a light dinner of pasta salad and settled onto the porch swing to eat. Crickets began their evening chorus as dusk fell. Diane sipped a glass of white wine, savoring the peaceful moment. In her everyday life, relaxation often felt like a guilty indulgence. But here, she could simply be. No expectations, no responsibilities. Just the freedom to exist as her authentic self. As night deepened, Diane reluctantly went inside. She had plans for a night on the town tomorrow and wanted to be well rested. After washing her face and changing into a silky nightgown, she curled up in bed with a contented sigh. Sleep came easily, lulled by the distant sound of waves. Diane woke the next morning feeling refreshed and eager to start the day. Sunlight streamed through gauzy curtains as she stretched languidly. The whole day stretched before her, full of possibilities. She padded to the kitchen and fixed herself a light breakfast of yogurt and fresh berries. Sipping her coffee on the porch, she pondered her plans. Perhaps some shopping at the quaint boutiques in town, followed by lunch at a seaside cafe. The evening would bring dinner and drinks at a trendy restaurant she'd been dying to try. Decision made, Diane headed to the bedroom to get ready. She opted for a breezy white eyelet blouse paired with cropped navy pants, chic but comfortable for a day of wandering. Low wedge sandals completed the look. Diane took extra care with her makeup, opting for a fresh, natural appearance. Just a hint of rosy blush, mascara, and tinted lip balm. She fussed with her wig until the waves fell just right, framing her face softly. The quaint seaside town was already bustling when Diane arrived. She strolled along the boardwalk, window shopping and people watching. A display of colorful sundresses caught her eye, and she stepped into the boutique. "Can I help you find anything?" asked the saleswoman with a friendly smile. "Just browsing, thanks," Diane replied, pleased at how natural her feminine voice was becoming with practice. She fingered the light fabrics, imagining how they'd swish around her legs. A coral dress patterned with white flowers particularly caught her eye. Diane checked the price tag and winced slightly, a bit more than she'd planned to spend. But she was on vacation, after all. Why not treat herself? Diane tried on the dress, twirling in front of the mirror. It fit perfectly, emphasizing her waist and skimming over her hips. The color brightened her complexion beautifully. "That looks lovely on you," the saleswoman commented. "The style really suits your figure." Diane beamed at the compliment. "I'll take it," she decided. She left the shop with her purchase tucked safely in a bag, feeling buoyant. The rest of the morning passed pleasantly as she browsed other stores, picking up a few small souvenirs and gifts. By early afternoon, Diane's feet were starting to ache. She found a table at a charming sidewalk cafe and ordered a salad and iced tea. As she people-watched, she caught a few admiring glances from passers-by. A warm glow of validation spread through her chest. Back at the beach house, Diane spent a leisurely few hours reading and napping. As evening approached, excitement bubbled up inside her. She'd made a reservation at an upscale restaurant in town, the perfect excuse to get dressed up. Diane took her time getting ready, relishing each step of her transformation. She started with a long, fragrant bubble bath, then carefully applied lotion to keep her skin soft and smooth. Seated at the vanity, she began her makeup routine. Foundation evened out her skin tone, while contouring subtly reshaped her features. Smoky eyeshadow and winged eyeliner made her eyes look huge and dramatic. False lashes and several coats of mascara completed the effect. A deep red lipstick added the perfect finishing touch. Diane slipped into her little black dress, savoring the feel of the silky fabric against her skin. The cut emphasized her waist while cleverly disguising her broader shoulders. She added a delicate silver necklace and bracelet for sparkle. Strappy black heels made her legs look a mile long. Diane practiced walking in them, her steps becoming more assured with each pass across the room. She gave herself a final once-over in the mirror, hardly recognizing the glamorous woman staring back at her. The restaurant was busy when Diane arrived, conversations and clinking glasses creating a pleasant buzz. The hostess led her to a small table near the window with a view of the twinkling lights along the boardwalk. "Can I start you off with a drink?" the waiter asked after handing her a menu. "A gin and tonic, please," Diane replied. She perused the menu, finally settling on pan-seared scallops. As she waited for her meal, Diane sipped her drink and observed her fellow diners. Couples leaned close across candlelit tables. A boisterous group celebrated a birthday. She felt a momentary pang of loneliness, wishing she had someone to share the evening with. But she quickly shook it off. This weekend was about embracing her independence. The scallops were divine, perfectly cooked and nestled on a bed of risotto. Diane savored each bite, washing it down with a crisp white wine. For dessert, she splurged on a decadent chocolate torte. By the time she finished her meal, a pleasant buzz from the wine suffused her body. On impulse, she decided to check out a nearby piano bar she'd heard about. The night was still young, after all. Soft jazz spilled out onto the street as Diane approached the bar. Inside, the lighting was dim and intimate. She found a seat at the curved bar and ordered a cocktail, tapping her foot to the music. "This seat taken?" a deep voice asked. Diane looked up to see a handsome silver-haired man gesturing to the empty stool beside her. "Help yourself," she replied with a smile. They fell into easy conversation, discussing their favorite jazz musicians. Diane was grateful for all the research she'd done to flesh out her feminine persona. She was able to hold her own in the discussion without arousing suspicion. As the night wore on, Diane found herself genuinely enjoying the man's company. He was charming and funny, clearly interested in her, but not pushy. In another life, she might have been tempted to see where things led, but that way lay complications she wasn't prepared to deal with. When he asked for her number at the end of the night, Diane demurred with a regretful smile. "I'm just passing through town, I'm afraid. But I've had a lovely evening. Thank you." She made her way back to the beach house, feet aching pleasantly from the unaccustomed heels. The encounter at the bar had been validating. Clear proof that she could pass convincingly as a woman, even under close scrutiny, but it also underscored the complexities of living a double life. Diane fell into bed, mind whirling as she replayed the events of the day. Despite the late hour, sleep was slow to come. She drifted off eventually, lulled by the distant sound of waves. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Diane's head throbbed slightly from the previous night's wine, but a couple of aspirin and a large glass of water soon set her to rights. She fixed herself a hearty breakfast of eggs and toast to fuel up for the day. Today called for something casual and beachy. Diane selected a pair of denim shorts that showed off her long legs and paired them with a loose cotton tank top in a cheerful yellow. She pulled her hair into a messy bun and added oversized sunglasses. Minimal makeup, just a swipe of tinted sunscreen and some waterproof mascara. The beach was more crowded today, families taking advantage of the perfect weather. Diane claimed a spot and spread out her towel. She spent a pleasant morning alternating between reading her novel and cooling off in the waves. Around midday, her stomach started to growl. Diane packed up her things and headed to a casual beachfront restaurant for lunch. She snagged a table on the patio with a view of the ocean and ordered a grilled mahi sandwich. As she people-watched, Diane found herself envying the easy camaraderie of the groups around her. While she treasured this opportunity for self-expression, a part of her longed to share it with someone. The freedom to be her authentic self was liberating, but also isolating at times. After lunch, Diane decided to treat herself to a mani-pedi at a nearby salon. The nail technician chatted companionably as she worked, asking about Diane's vacation plans. Diane found herself spinning tales of an imaginary girls' trip, the lies coming more easily than she would have expected. She left the salon with her nails painted a cheerful coral that perfectly matched her new sundress. On impulse, Diane decided to wear the dress out to dinner. She'd been saving it for a special occasion, but why not make tonight special? Back at the beach house, Diane took her time getting ready. She curled her hair into soft waves and did her makeup with a light touch. Dewy skin, shimmery bronze eyeshadow, and glossy nude lips. Delicate gold jewelry and low-heeled sandals completed the look. Diane had spotted a laid-back tiki bar right on the beach that seemed perfect for a casual dinner. She found a table with a view of the sunset and ordered a fruity cocktail garnished with a paper umbrella. The menu featured Hawaiian-inspired dishes. She settled on coconut shrimp and a side of grilled pineapple. As she waited for her food, Diane people-watched and sipped her drink. Families with sandy children grabbed early dinners. Sunburned tourists nursed beers at the bar. A volleyball game was wrapping up on the beach nearby. Diane's shrimp arrived, smelling divine. She took her time savoring each bite, licking the sweet spicy sauce from her fingers. The sunset painted the sky in vibrant oranges and pinks, reflected in the calm waters of the ocean. After dinner, Diane wasn't quite ready to call it a night. She strolled along the beach, letting the waves lap at her feet. The sand was still warm from the day's sun. She collected a few pretty shells, tucking them into her purse as souvenirs. A beach bonfire caught her eye, and she drifted closer. A group of 20-somethings were roasting marshmallows and playing guitar. They smiled and waved her over. "Want a s'more?" a friendly girl asked, offering a slightly charred marshmallow. Diane hesitated only a moment before accepting. "Thanks," she said with a smile, settling onto the sand. She ended up spending a pleasant hour with the group, singing along to popular songs and swapping travel stories. Diane was careful not to share too many personal details, but she found she could relax and just be herself. It was a novel experience. Usually her guard was always up to some degree. As the fire burned low, Diane made her excuses and headed back to the beach house. The night air had grown chilly, and she wrapped her arms around herself, shivering slightly. Her feet ached from all the walking, but it was a pleasant kind of soreness. Diane took a long, hot shower to wash away the sand and smoke. As she went through her nightly routine, removing makeup, moisturizing, brushing out her wig, a melancholy mood settled over her. Tomorrow she'd have to pack up and return to reality. She curled up in bed with a book, but found herself unable to focus on the words. Instead, her mind kept circling back to the events of the past few days. The freedom to fully express this side of herself had been intoxicating. How could she go back to stolen moments and secrecy? But she had responsibilities, a job, a life she'd built. Diane sighed, knowing there were no easy answers. For now, she'd cherish the memories of this weekend and use them to sustain her through the long stretches between opportunities to be her true self. Diane woke early the next morning, greeted by pale pre-dawn light filtering through the curtains. She lay still for a long moment, listening to the crash of waves and cry of seagulls. Sadness weighed heavy in her chest at the thought of leaving this idyllic retreat. But there was no avoiding it. Diane forced herself out of bed and went through her morning routine on autopilot. She packed carefully, making sure all traces of her feminine wardrobe were well concealed. It wouldn't do to have anything slip out by accident. For her journey home, Diane chose a comfortable outfit of leggings and an oversized sweater. She took extra care removing all traces of nail polish and makeup. The face staring back at her from the mirror looked tired and a bit lost. Diane did one final sweep of the beach house, making sure she hadn't forgotten anything. She lingered on the porch, breathing in the salty air and committing the view to memory. Finally, she picked up her bags and made her way to the car.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!